Growling Tsunami. Ё-моё! Бочку смыло с мотором и с лодкой моей. Все. Не думал, что...
The world is starting to notice something surprising. The Filipino military is rising fast, and it's making China nervous. For years, the Philippines was seen as a small player in the military world. Its soldiers were brave, but poorly equipped. Its bases were outdated, and its ships and jets looked like relics from the past. But today, the story is changing fast. Something big is happening behind the scenes, and it's shaking the balance of power in Asia. This is the rise of the Filipino military, and China has every reason to be worried. It all started when tensions in the South China Sea began to boil over. China began claiming islands and building military bases on reefs it didn't even own. It started chasing Filipino fishermen out of their traditional fishing grounds and threatening Philippine patrols. The Philippines was angry, but it was not ready to fight back. Its military was too weak to challenge a giant like China. But that weakness turned into a wake-up call. In recent years, the Philippines has quietly transformed its defense strategy, and it's getting help from some of the most powerful countries in the world. What we are seeing now is not just a small upgrade. This is a full-scale military revolution. The Filipino military is buying new warships, modern fighter jets, long-range missiles, surveillance drones, and anti-ship systems. The country is also building stronger alliances, especially with the United States, Japan, and Australia. For the first time in decades, the Philippines is creating a military that can defend its territory and make its enemies think twice. And China is watching all of this with growing concern, because the last thing China wants is a strong and independent Philippines right in its backyard. Let's start with the hardware. In just a few years, the Philippine Navy has received brand new warships from South Korea, including powerful missile-guided frigates. These are not just symbolic. They're fully armed with radar systems, torpedoes, and surface-to-air missiles. The Philippine Air Force has added Fa-50 fighter jets and is now shopping for even more advanced aircraft, including F-16s from the United States and possibly Swedish Gripen jets. These jets are fast, maneuverable, and deadly. But that's not all. The Philippines is also acquiring BrahMos supersonic missiles from India. These are some of the fastest cruise missiles in the world, capable of sinking large enemy ships in seconds. Once deployed, they will become a serious threat to any Chinese vessel that dares to approach. Defense radar systems from Japan and the US are also being installed to give the military an early warning system against any attack. And then there's the training. Filipino soldiers are now conducting more joint exercises than ever before with US Marines, Australian forces, and Japanese troops. These war games include live fire drills, amphibious landings, and even simulations of island defense. The goal is clear: prepare the Philippines for any kind of conflict, especially with a bigger enemy like China. And this brings us to geography. If you look at the map, The Philippines sits in a very strategic location near the South China Sea and the Taiwan Strait, two of the most tense military zones in the world. Whoever controls the Philippines can monitor Chinese naval movement, cut off shipping lanes, and even block access to the Pacific Ocean. China knows this. That's why it's trying to expand its influence in the region. But now, the Philippines is standing in the way, and it's no longer standing alone. The U.S. is returning in a big way. Under the Enhanced Defense Cooperation Agreement, the U.S. military now has access to key bases in the Philippines, including ones close to Taiwan and the South China Sea. This means U.S. forces can deploy quickly in case of any crisis. China sees this as a direct threat. Japan is also stepping in. For the first time since World War II, Japan is giving military aid to another country, and that country is the Philippines. They're providing coastal radar systems, maritime surveillance equipment, and disaster response gear. Australia is joining too, with more naval cooperation and joint training drills. What we're witnessing is a growing circle of powerful allies surrounding the Philippines and helping it rise militarily. And that rise is not just about weapons, it's about mindset. The Filipino people are beginning to see their military not as a symbol of the past, but as a force for the future. Patriotism is growing. Support for defense spending is rising, and more young people are choosing to serve. The country is waking up to the reality that peace can only be maintained when you're strong enough to defend it. And China is watching all of this very carefully. In Beijing, military planners are rethinking their strategies because the Philippines can no longer be bullied easily. Its patrol ships now respond with force. Its air force is watching the skies. And its missile systems are preparing for defense. Even the presence of American forces on Philippine soil changes the equation. Any attack on the Philippines could now trigger a response from the U.S. and possibly other allies too. This kind of deterrence is exactly why China is nervous. Its dream of dominating the South China Sea is hitting a wall. And that wall is now reinforced with Filipino steel and foreign support. But the story doesn't end there. The Philippines is also building up its cyber defense and intelligence gathering. It's partnering with U.S. agencies to track Chinese hacking and surveillance attempts. And it's expanding its Coast Guard fleet to protect its economic zones. Even fishermen are being trained to help report intrusions and protect national waters. It's a full-scale effort across land, air, sea, and digital space. And it's starting to work. Chinese ships are being challenged. Filipino bases are being fortified. And the international community is paying attention. But the biggest shift of all is in confidence. The Filipino military is starting to believe in itself again. After years of being seen as weak, it is now showing signs of strength and readiness. And that change is powerful. Because once a nation believes it can defend itself, others begin to believe it too. And that's when true power begins to grow. China is now faced with a difficult choice. If it continues its aggression, it risks triggering a united response, not just from the Philippines, but from an entire alliance. If it backs off, it loses face in front of the world. Either way, the Philippines has changed the game. And it did so not by provoking war, but by preparing for peace through strength. This rise of the Filipino military is one of the most important stories in Asia today. And it's not over. The next few years will be critical. More weapons, more training, more alliances, and more determination are coming. The Philippines is no longer just reacting. It's now setting the pace and making plans of its own. It wants to defend every inch of its territory, protect its people, and uphold international law. And if China wants to test that resolve, it will face a very different kind of opponent. Not just a small nation, but a strong and united force, backed by global support and driven by the spirit of a people who refuse to be pushed around any longer. The rise of the Filipino military is a message to the world that even a country once overlooked can rise again with courage, strategy, and the right allies. This is not just about guns and missiles. This is about pride, sovereignty, and survival. And China knows that better than anyone. The next time it sends ships into Philippine waters, it won't just see fishing boats and old patrols. It will see radar systems, jet fighters, warships, and allies ready to defend the line. And that line will not be crossed easily. The future of Asia is changing, and the Philippines is taking its place in it. One soldier, one ship, one missile at a time. The dragon is watching, but the eagle is landing, and the sun is rising on a new chapter for the Filipino military.